Ladies and gentlemen, you know the voice, you've certainly felt the presence. From dwarven warlords to Highland rebels, from Westeros unites to political masterminds in the continent, he is the embodiment of power on screen. A legend across the Tolkien and Witcher fandoms and one of the most iconic voices in gaming and animation. Please welcome the incomparable McTavish! What an absolute pleasure and privilege to have you today.
No, it's lovely, and these are incredibly comfortable seats. These are the most comfortable seats I've ever done Q&A.
See, we are really trying to do our best. I think this is the third Comic-Con in Budapest, and we've always been really geeks and fans of all these amazing universes, and the fact that we've grown so much and we can do this means a lot to us.
Well,
what are the first impressions of the city? We had a chance to talk before, and it turns out decades ago you had a chance to visit us.
Yeah, I came here 26 years ago, probably before some of you were born, actually. And I did a TV show here called Dinotopia, in which I played a character with the absurd name of Ajax. And I can't remember anything about it other than there were dinosaurs, and there was me. But I loved Budapest. I had a beautiful time here, and I've just not had a chance to come back, so it's wonderful to be here.
The first thing I wish to talk to you about has to do something with power and human nature. And when everybody talks about your character, there's always the charisma, the presence. But if you look at the different works that you've done, the different universes you had a chance to visit, there is always turmoil. Not just adventure, there's always trouble, obviously, conflict.
Yes.
Is there anything that changed you because of these experiences? Not just an actor, but just as a human being, as you have to face all these great tales about human or dwarven adventure. Is there anything that you can put your finger on it, like I am changing in this direction?
All experiences change you, I suppose, whether you're doing a film or television, or whatever it is that you're doing. Certainly doing something like The Hobbit was a life-changing experience in lots of ways. But really, when you're playing a character or you're inhabiting a world like Middle-earth or 18th century Scotland or anything like that, you're really just employing your imagination and revisiting what it was like to be a child. Really, I always say to people, if they ask, how do you become Dougal Mackenzie or Dwalin or whatever? It's really just like you were when you were 10 or 11 years old. You're able to move between the world of reality and the world of fiction. When you're a child, you can do that instantly. And as an adult, as an actor, certainly in my case, I've just held on to that ability. So I don't carry with me those characters. I'm not, sort of filled with angst or, what's it like to be a dwarf in Middle-earth. I can only put it this way, I'm just really enjoying it. Yeah. For me, other people have different processes, but for me, it really is about having fun and enjoying play.
Minden karakter, amit játszott valamilyen módon konfliktussal, harccal kapcsolatos, és ez mennyire változtatta meg önt az idő során. Az a helyzet, hogy számomra, amikor az ember belép egy világba, legyen az Középföldön, vagy a 18. század Skócia, a legfontosabb az, hogy azt a gyerek képességet tartsuk meg, hogy amikor az ember 10-11 éves, egyszerűen csak átugrik a valóság és a fikció között. És szerencsére én ezt a képességet igyekszem megtartani, ami azt is jelenti, hogy a karaktereim nem változtatnak meg túlságosan, igyekszem őket elengedni, nem gondolkodom azon, milyen lehet történet lenni, mert most már döntőnök az.
Very good, thank you. Yeah, still doing an amazing job. Let's hear it for our interpreter one more time. Come on, everybody. Obviously, power and adventure is nothing if not shared. can you tell us about any bonds that you made, any experiences in any of these universes where a cast member, a fellow actor, was super important to you after a while because of how you were able to cooperate?
I mean, there are many experiences that you have on these things that bond you together. I mean, really, The Hobbit, I suppose, is the most obvious because we were wearing costumes that weighed 32 kilograms, and we were running and fighting and doing all this sort of stuff. And I guess if I could pick one experience, well, there was the barrel sequence in The Hobbit, which was insane. I mean, we were literally floating down a river in barrels, dressed as dwarves, fighting for our lives. But the one that really sticks out, I suppose, is when we had 200 kilograms of fish poured on our heads in The Hobbit. And when we did that, we were in the barrel. Well, we got shown it first of all by a stuntman, and the stuntman was wearing a crash helmet, which immediately made me think, oh dear, why is he wearing a crash helmet? And then they did it, and the fish went up to here. And then when it came to our turn, we got inside, they did it up to here. But Peter Jackson decided that that wasn't enough, that we just needed more fish. So they had a trough above our head, right, with 200 kilograms of fish. Real fish. And we're doing the scene, I'm looking, there's Bard, and the first person they put in the barrel was Adam Brown, who played Orin. Now, Adam, until this day, we didn't know this, is phobic of fish. He actually has a phobia of fish. He can't bear looking at them. So, the first person to have 200 kilograms of fish poured on his head is a man who is terrified of fish. So he's in there, he's looking, there's Bard, blah, 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 and then you hear Peter shout out, fish! And 200 kilograms pours onto his head, and it just goes, and he just disappears. He disappears. And cut, fantastic, that looked amazing. And you hear Peter saying, Adam, are you all right? And I only found out subsequently when it was my turn that he couldn't speak because he'd had to put a tiny little pocket of air in front of his mouth so he could breathe because the fish acted like concrete and just sealed him into the barrel. Right? It's ridiculously dangerous. I mean, it hurts. It's mad, absolutely mad. And they could only take 2 fish out at a time because they were so slippery. And it took him 10 minutes while he was there. I mean, insane. And then we did that 5 times each. And that kind of an experience definitely bonds you together. You know? Yeah, you never forget it. I can smell them now.
Szóval volt olyan alkalom, amikor egy másik státorgal valamilyen módon összekapcsolódott. Igen, amikor a Hobbitban először is fogadtuk a pólós jelenetet, amikor 32 kiló törvényembezben bedobtak minket egy folytóban, hogy küzdjünk az életünkért. De azt hiszem, hogy leginkább a hal jelenet volt az érdekesebb, amikor 200 kiló halat engedtek a fejünkre. Először egy kosztolót mutatta be, akinek a fején bukósisak volt, rövidősisak volt, és a halat befekték a melkasáig, de Peter Jackson azt mondta, hogy ez nem elég, több halra van szükség, úgyhogy fölöttünk volt egy háló benne 200 kiló hallal, és az első ember, akire ráengedték a halakat, azt az Hobbit játszó Adam Brownval, akiről csak később tudtuk meg, hogy halfóbiája van, rettek a halaktól. Úgyhogy ment a jelenet, Peter Jackson megmutatta magát, hogy hal, és ráengedték a 200 kiló halat, amiben konkrétan teljes részében eltűnt. Ennyi, szabadítsuk ki elemet, és kiderült, hogy ele nem tud beszélni, mert maga elé kellett tartani egy kis létságot, ugyanis az elképesztően csúszós halak gyakorlatilag olyan volt, mintha betonba öntötték volna. Egyszerűen csak 2 halat tudtunk kiszedni, levenni róla, mert annyira csúszósak voltak. Na ezt a jelenetet mindenki 5-ször csinálta meg. Olyasson, ami összeköt bennünket. Még most is érzem a szavakat.
You already mentioned that you don't take the characters with you and it still becomes a real and authentic acting experience even when you have to play like a character from a different species. But let's talk about the different fandoms and universes for a minute. Do you have the same experience when you are preparing for a role that you know has this massive fandom and it's going to have this pop culture recognition?
Yeah.
Does it make it different, or is it like still the same?
No, I mean it is different a little bit because you carry with it the responsibility of honouring that subject, that book. I mean, I've weirdly done quite a few adaptations of books. So obviously Outlander, The Hobbit, Preacher, even Preacher's graphic novel, The Witcher, House of the Dragon. All of these things have a legacy that precedes them. And yeah, you carry that with you. Obviously with The Hobbit, we were painfully aware that The Lord of the Rings was an immensely successful trilogy. So you don't want to fuck that up. Really. And it's the same with Outlander. The fans of Outlander are very, very passionate, and it's very important to them. And I'm the same. If I'm a fan of the book and I see that there's going to be an adaptation of the book, I'm going to be really critical if I don't like it. So you do have that with you, but you also have to just put it all to one side and concentrate on the script and make it your own. So it's not, it's both things at the same time, if that makes any sense.
És hogyha olyan munkákat végezem még, amiket hatalmas rajongótábor övez, akkor másképp készül fel ezekre a szerepeknek. Igen, az embernek ilyenkor viselnie kell azt a felelősséget, ami ezzel jár, hogy az alapműveket tiszteletben tartja. Ilyen volt a Hobbit, a Sárkányok háza, a Preacher, az Outlander. Úgyhogy ilyenkor az ember tisztában van az, hogy az ember egy elképesztően sikeres világa, és az ember nem akarja elcseszni. Ez így volt a Hobbitnál, és még így volt az Outlandernél, és az emberek elképesztően szenvedélyesen rajongnak ezekért a világokért. És ha én érvelünk egy könyvnek, akkor nyilván a kritikusabb viselkedem a feldolgozásnál. Ugyanakkor pedig színészként ezt egy kicsit félre kell tenni, koncentrálni a forgatókönyvre és csinálni a dolgokat.
If we look at different types of human charisma, in my opinion, there is the berserk type of charisma that just, goes into battle and shouts and destroys everything. And on the other end of the spectrum, there is this silent type of charisma. And there we have your case, where you don't really have to shout, but there is this assertive presence that when you start appearing in a scene and you make your move, things have to somehow just go that way. Is it something that you have in your personal life, or is it just something that we experience on a screen? Because, again, it's acting. How do you connect to this type of charisma?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, to be honest, I'm not sure. When it comes to myself, well, certainly. Okay, I'll give you an example. I did youth theatre when I was 20, and I was in England. I was doing Manchester Youth Theatre, and we did an exercise, and the exercise was to try and make as many people in the room look at you as possible. So, I don't know how many people were in the room, there was probably 30, 40 people, all acting. And they all, pretty much every single one of them, tried to do stuff to attract attention. So they would jump up and down, they would shout, they would do anything, they would move. And I did nothing at all. I was completely still. I didn't move. And at the end of it, the guy taking the class said, "Who was the person you were looking at the most?" And it turned out to be me, because I did nothing. And one of the great lessons I learned in acting was the last time I did a play, in fact, was at the Royal Court in London. And it was a stage similar to this, actually, with a slightly bigger audience. But my character was a gangster. Very, very, very violent man. And I won't tell you about all the violence I committed, but it involved an axe and a box cutter blade and headbutting, and it was pretty bad. But anyway, I'm on stage, the other actor has to leave the stage to get me money. So I'm alone on stage. And we did an exercise with the director. He said, how would your character behave when he was alone? What would he do? Now, the temptation for an actor is always to do something. So the temptation would be to shift in my seat, to look over in the corner, to scratch my head, to do anything, just something that made you feel like you were acting, right? And he told me, do nothing. And so I sat there, and I'll try and do it very, very briefly for you. I was on there for nearly 90 seconds. 90 seconds completely alone. Okay? So I'll just do it for a few moments. And all I did, I just sat there, and I did this. And after a while, that becomes very, very uncomfortable for the audience. They feel genuinely intimidated because the audience has a contract with the actor, and the contract is you do something and we watch. But if you're not doing anything, they're like, oh my God, what is he doing? And it's sort of breaking the contract. And that's a really interesting thing for me to try and bring to a scene is, it has to be appropriate to the character, but to have that feeling of quiet, confident intimidation.
Szóval rengeteg karizma van, nekem az egyik háborúban való a másik pedig a csendes karizma. Önnek melyik van és hogy kapcsolódik ehhez? Igazából nem vagyok ezzel kapcsolatban biztos. A legfontosabb az, hogy azt gondolom, hogy volt néhány évvel ezelőtt, amikor 20 éves voltam, ifjúsági színházat csináltam, és volt egy olyan gyakorlat, hogy kire néznek legtöbben az emberek. És mindenki csinált valamit, én egyszerűen csak álltam és nem csináltam semmit, és végig kiderült, hogy engem figyeltek a legtöbben, azért, mert nem csináltam semmit. És az a lényege, hogy a közönség és a színésznek között van egyfajta kontraktus, ami azt jelenti, hogyha mi azért jövünk oda, hogy nézzük, ahogy te csinálsz valamit. Ha nem csinálsz semmit, akkor ez egy kicsit kényelmetlen mindenkinek, és igyekeztem ezt a energiát behozni ebben.
Been to all these amazing universes, have awesome experiences in documentaries. Well, what is there on the horizon? If you ever just sit down and be like, okay, well, what other territories could I explore? Does anything still comes to mind, or is it just enhancing these experiences and then redo them? Is there anything left, really?
Oh yeah, I mean, good, I hope so. Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to. I went to see Star Wars when it first came out, when I was 16, and unforgettable experience. It's very difficult, I think, for people now, people of an equivalent age, to imagine what it was like in 1977, seeing something like Star Wars, where you're sitting there and this giant ship goes over your head. Nobody had ever seen anything like that before. And I think in those days, cinema was sort of developing enough for it still to be so completely absorbing. You know, I remember when I saw Jaws, people would be shouting at the screen, you know, kill it, kill it, kill it. I mean, just totally involved. Same with Alien, kill it. And so Star Wars would be a universe that I would love. I don't care, I'll be a stormtrooper just walking in the background. I just want the outfit. I love whenever you go to these conventions, they often have the Star Wars parade. I would love to be in that parade. Is this so cool? I mean, it's just such a fantastic, and the fact that when he made Star Wars, all the crew on that movie thought it was going to be shit. They just thought it was awful. Why is he making this? And yeah, and it was life-changing for so many people. But yeah, Star Wars, that's it.
All right, and that is like, oh my God, that's it for the man. Come on, I think we should start the conversation. In the parade here, this is amazing crowd. The Hungarian 501st, they are really something.
Szóval van egy olyan világ, amiben szeretne még részt venni. Igen, a csillagokhából élne az, amit szeretnék, mert amikor 16 évesen láttam, nem hiszem, hogy a mai 16 évesek el tudják képzelni, hogy milyen elképesztő élmény volt megtapasztalni ezt a hatalmas csillagot a fejünk fölött. És amikor fiatal voltam, és akkor fejlődtem a mozi ilyen elképesztő blockbuster irányba, az emberek öltöztek a képernyőre, amikor a cápát vagy az idén nézték, hogy öld meg, úgyhogy igen, Star Wars, leszek egy rohamos tagos, csak hadd legyek benne.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now it's your time to shine. I do believe that many of you prepared questions, and Sabi is so eager to just go your way. And alright, there comes the man. Sabi, to your right, okay. Hello, kérlek adjatok majd please make sure that we hear the question.
Sorry, I need to start. Oh my god. Sorry, I need to start like that to create tension with the speakers. So my question to you, Graham, is that I remember first seeing you in the fourth Rambo movie, John Rambo, and your character Louis was so memorable for me that ever since then, when I see you on stage, I'm like, yeah, that's the guy. He was such a great mercenary, such a good clashing with Sly. And do you have any memories to share about that experience, either good or bad, anything?
Oh my God, Rambo, memories. I kept a journal during Rambo. It was so intense, so insane. There were things that he said every day that you couldn't make up. Just absolutely amazing. You know, I mean, like, one example would be that early on in shooting, his stunt double became injured. Now bear in mind at this point, Sylvester Stallone is 63 years old. His stunt double got injured, so Sly had to do his own stunts. And one of them was getting blown up, or getting sort of an explosion happens near him, he gets thrown, he has to roll down a hill. It's all very, very dramatic. When he did it, he managed to impale his own bicep with a piece of bamboo that went through his bicep. And he stood there, and he raised his arm and he went, yeah, and check it up. And there's this massive hole in his arm. And the producers are going, well, Sly, I mean, you need to get to the hospital. He goes, no, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. And at that point, we all knew that we could never, ever complain. Like, nothing. You know, your head could be hanging off, and you'd have to just go, it's fine, Sly, don't worry about it. I remember I pulled the muscle in my leg. I never mentioned it. Never, ever mentioned it. It was like being directed by Rambo. And when there's a scene towards the end where we're about to be executed by the bad guys, and there's like loads and loads of them, and they start to get ready to shoot us, and then Sly opens up with a 50 caliber machine gun, kills them all, and my job was I'd been injured at that point, was to roll, take my belt off, tourniquet my own leg, headbutt a guy to death, then crawl up a hill while being shot at, grab an AK-47, go behind a tree stump, and start shooting bad guys. And that was all in one continuous take. We were coming towards the end of the day, it was the last shot of the day, the sun was going down, and I'm getting ready, I'm rehearsing in my mind, okay, belt, tourniquet, headbutt, AK-47, gunfire, grab, tree stump, bang, 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 going over. And then I just hear Sly's voice from the video village, and he just goes, Graham, Graham, Graham. And I'm like, yes, Sly, I mean, I think this is going to be the note that will unlock my character, one of the great actors of 20th century action. And he just said, don't fuck it up. That's what it was like working with Sylvester Stallone.
As far as prompts and briefs and, you know...
It worked for me. Yeah, I got it in one take. Yeah.
Right, in one day.
One take. Oh, yes.
Thank you for the amazing question, by the way. We appreciate you, good sir. Who would like to go second? All right.
Bilbo. Hello.
Hello.
I would like to ask that I hear a story, I don't know if it's true, that in the end when Thorin fights with Azog, you're supposed to be want to have him, but in the story, but you had off, and so your character had off, and then they didn't make it in the end. I mean, it was cut, or it didn't use. I don't know if it's true, but or was there any scene that you do, but in the end they cut it, but you really liked
Yes,
it?
I see. You mean, okay, so in the Battle of the Five Arms?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, there was. I shot a scene where I had to fight my way through, because I can see that Thorin is in danger from Azog. And I'm fighting my way through these orcs. So I had to do a knife fight with, I think, 6 to 8 orcs. I had to kill them all to get through to Thorin, but I'm too late. So the way that the shot was done was I do the fight, and then when I finally kill the last orc, I see that Thorin has already been killed, and that I feel this terrible sense of failure of having not protected him. And it was actually the very last scene I shot on the entire trilogy. That was my last day. And it was very, very, I rehearsed it for ages and ages and ages. But Peter decided not to include it. And he's the director, it's his film, he can do what he likes. But his argument was that we shouldn't see Dwalin fail. And personally, I disagreed with that. I think really the whole point is that Dwalin does fail. Because to my way of thinking, you see me fighting, you see me fighting, you see me fighting, and then I just sort of disappear. And you think, well, what did he do? Did he go and have a lie down? Did he say, oh, I just can't be bothered to go and try and save Thorin now. I'm a bit tired. And so I felt like that, the completion of that story arc was not done. But as I say, Peter makes his decisions, and I respect that. But that was the scene that was cut.
So people don't say no to Sly, Peter Jackson.
Yes.
It's like this.
And actually, it's strange. Peter Jackson and Sylvester Stallone have more in common than you'd think. I mean, I'm pretty sure he would win in a fight, but no, they're both very focused, driven individuals. So Peter would just get us to do the same thing over and over and over again. I mean, there's a scene where we run, we're being chased by wargs, and we're sprinting. Now remember, I'm wearing size 18 US boots. I don't know what that is in European, but it's huge, massive boots, 32 kilograms. We were fit, but we had to run. It was on a long lens, so Peter's here with the camera. We're about 150 meters in the other direction, and on action we just have to run. We're running like mad. And at the end of it, I mean, we basically collapsed because we're so exhausted. To give you an example of what Peter was like, he just said, yeah, that was great, but you just need to be faster. So we had to do it all over again. And so he was very precise, and Sly is the same. He expects everybody to be 110% committed in any situation.
Thank you so much. Before we go to the next question, it's like we have 4 seats. Imagine that Sly is there, Peter Jackson is there. Could you name like a third co-worker, cast member who is the same, precise, visionary? About your careers?
Directing-wise, you mean as a director? Let me think. Gosh. Oh God. Right. I mean, well. As a director.
It could be anybody, fellow actor, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well,
just like the
Richard Armitage, he used to really do this massive, I mean, so different from me, this huge preparation of every day. My trailer was next to Richard's, and I would hear him do a vocal warm-up every morning. And, I mean, when you do that for 2.5 years, it does get a little tiresome. You're literally listening to somebody going me 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 ma 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 for for about 10 minutes. And I did feel like saying to him, I mean, all respect to Richard, but I did feel like saying to him, Richard, we're not on stage. You've got a camera that's here. You could whisper and people would hear you. But everybody has their process. Yeah, Richard was very, very precise. He liked to be left alone. He never allowed himself to be filmed by the behind-the-scenes cameras. It was, yeah, he kind of locked himself away, which is, a legitimate choice, but not one that I did myself.
All right, 3 minutes on the clock, ladies and gentlemen. It means that still have time for one more question. So if you will, on that beloved Star Wars t-shirt, deserves a chance to ask a question.
Mi Star Wars-osok tartsuk össze. First. Az lenne a kérdésem, hogy a szemmel mind a kettőjüknek van ilyen bourbon whisky márkája, ebben nem vagyok otthon. Ez egy ilyen kifejezett versengés kettőjük között, hogy mind a ketten valamilyen alkoholt csinálnak, vagy csak úgy poénból versenyeznek vele, hogy ki a finomabb. Ez az egyik. A másik pedig az, hogy a Luciferben
So the first question is, apparently you and Sam both have bourbon whiskey brands. And the question is, are you competing? Who has the more delicious one, or is this just like a friendly thing?
Oh yeah, right. Okay. So Sam and I, well, the big difference is that Sam's whiskey is Scotch, and mine is bourbon. So they're completely different. They just both have to be alcoholic. No, I mean, not competing. Because mine just tastes better, so there is no competition.
For any sort of a competition.
No, I mean, fortunately, the liquor industry is big enough to cope with both of our whiskies. I really like Sam's whiskey, and I'm sure he likes mine. But yeah, no, it wasn't ever meant to be competition. Like pretty much every single thing I've ever done in my life, I got into it by accident. I was approached because they knew I liked bourbon, and it was something I was trying to keep secret, because being Scottish, to admit that you prefer bourbon over Scotch is kind of heresy. So I didn't really advertise it, but now I have burst from the closet, and I am a fully fledged bourbon lover, and so that's what I'm doing. But no, we're not trying to. I mean, we do compete. I mean, if you've seen Men in Kilts, I mean, Sam is the most competitive. He would compete over, who yawns better. Who's better at waking up in the morning. Anything. You ask Sam, he'll compete with you on anything.
Szóval az én whisky bourbon az övé Scotch, és igazából nincs olyan semmi, az enyém sokkal jobb, de szeretjük egymás whiskyjét. És ebben is csak véletlenül kerültem bele, hiszen skótként a bourbonért rajongani, ez nem egy menő dolog. De persze versenyzünk, hogyha szemet láttam, hogy ismered a skótokat, akkor tudod, hogy azon is versenyeznek, hogy ki ásít szemben.
Well, I think we had a chance to cover a lot of different fields, and we are so thankful. Ladies and gentlemen, McTavish.
Thank you very much.